I don't remember where I was, somewhere with Allison and seeing like a bee the size of a small bird. Like it was so big. You
Whoa.
think bit of an exaggeration. No, no, this thing was huge. Like that big around in the body. It was
Whoa.
awesome. Scary though, because it was loud. Like
Yeah.
I
But
do
it's
like
like,
bees. I think they're important, but
but sometimes they can be a little scary when they're like the size of a kitten.
yeah,
Like
really big
that's
and
too big.
loud. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. Got up this morning and had a bowl of frosted mini wheats.
Mm.
Then I went back to bed for a little snooze with kitties on me, and they purr actually a lot like a bird-sized bee, if you think about
Interesting. Maybe it was just a cat that I saw.
it. Yeah, maybe. Like, oh, disregard. I got my animals mixed up. It was a purring cat.
It's basically the same thing, though, right? Small,
Yeah,
round,
basically.
furry, loud.
Mm-hmm. Run furry loud. Mm-hmm.
Kitten or bee? Who's to say?
The age-old question. You could make like a game show. Like they play like a clip and you have to guess if it's a cat or a bee.
Yeah,
That would be kind of
aw,
funny.
that would be a fun game.
In the alternate universe that I live in, game shows are always just like really inconsequential but cute things that happen. It's people
That sounds like
identifying
a
the
really
sounds
nice
of
world.
birds or playing kitten versus bee.
Or like that one Japanese one where you have to figure out what's chocolate.
Yeah.
That one seemed good.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm fine. How are you today?
Good.
Wow, two thumbs up.
Yeah, it's been
That's so
I
good.
accidentally slept in and so I missed my 9:30 church, which I
Yes,
think they should have expected because it's at 9:30.
because it's at
Um,
9:30. Not even 10.
is it at 9:30? No.
Like,
No.
be
No. So
reasonable.
I went to the 12 one and it was good. Um, and then I came back home and I didn't know that you could clean your Birkenstocks. And so I cleaned my Birkenstocks because I have been wearing them around my house to avoid getting like feeling like my feet are gross. But then I wear
Mhm.
them and I feel like my feet are gross.
Right.
Yeah, so I cleaned them this afternoon and that's what I did.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
it's a
been my
good
whole
time.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what are we talking about today?
Well, we still haven't talked about the secret of Nim.
Okay, good. That's what I was hoping we would talk about.
Yeah, that's been on the agenda for a while. I had a thought the other day for what STEM could stand for, but I was like so EP at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was trying to figure out, um, the best I could come up with was that it stands for stay-at-home mom, where it's like the S is for
Aw,
stay, and then the T is for at, and then the E is for home, and the M is for mom. Because here's the thing. She like has to move and she's like, I'll just take the house with me. Like she's a stay-at-home mom,
that's
you
funny.
know?
Oh, I also like it because she's oh mom, but she's barely home for the whole movie.
hmm She's just unemployed, but she actually travels quite extensively. So she's like not your traditional stay-at-home mom, but still just as valid as all moms, except for
In
ones that are
fact,
bad.
you know who you are.
Not to name any names, but trust that we could.
Locked and loaded. I do really like that. I also had a thought about what it could stand for. I thought the S could be same secret because of that clip of Sean
hmm
going, secret to him and the secret to my success.
Same
Same
secret.
secret.
Yeah, which I do
Um,
think about every single day, and I have since I saw that psych episode for the first time. Same secret. Like just something in his delivery. I'm like, same secret.
no
You
secret.
can say that for anything.
There's something about James Roday, like his line delivery never. I mean, you could say that about everybody on the show, but
Yeah.
there's something about the way that he specifically delivers lines that sticks in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I've told you this, but the nair that he gives to Tim
Yeah.
Curry,
Yeah.
nair, nair. Look into your boy's eyes. It's me, Papa. Like, why
Yeah.
does he act like that?
You could keep going forever. Gus,
You could.
don't be exactly half of an 11-pound Black Forest ham.
Gus is. I mean, there's that one episode where they're trying to get into the karate studio for some reason, and Gus is
Uh-huh.
like, "I am now disclosing that this conversation is being recorded. Can I use your water fountain back there, or do you only
Or
let
do you
the
only let
white
white
people
people
use
use
that?"
that?
And then the guy
Yeah.
says, "No, you people can use it too."
He's like,
Everybody
wait,
like,
panic. He's like making him panic into saying something racist. I'm now disclosing that this conversation is being recorded. Yeah, I love him. He's so funny. I also love like he has a lot of those like at the counter confrontations with somebody. For example, when he goes to the tanning salon and he's like, "I'm here for a tanning appointment, please." And the guy is like, "For you?" And he's like, "Yeah, who else?" It's like, "But what do I do?" Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. What do I do?
Like, yeah, man, what would you do? Tell me right now. Everybody leave a comment if you worked at a tanning salon and a black man came in and said, "I want a tanning appointment for myself. Why are you looking at me like that?" What would you do?
what shade? Like, no, and I genuinely like. I think that was. It's obviously such a funny moment, but I also think it is a slightly unrealistic moment because anyone who has worked in any kind of customer service whatsoever,
Yeah.
people do say the craziest shit.
Yeah.
Like I had someone come into my edible arrangement shop and say, like, I am deadly allergic to pineapple. Can you make me something without like any kind of pineapple? And I was like, maybe it's not like such an insane ask, but like if you don't already know, but also pineapple is in literally all of our advertising. It's in our little logo, like a cute little pineapple flower, and literally everything in this shop touches every other thing in the shop.
Right. Like it's
No,
really
and then like
almost impossible to not cross-contaminate your food
yes, and
at an
that's not
edible
the like
arrangement.
super crazy thing.
Yeah.
Exactly, because it's all fruit and it's just like kind of water and juice. Like we can't
Yeah.
really make stuff in a vacuum. That wasn't the crazy part. The crazy part is the reaction because they got so mad. We were like, man, like
It's
just go
like
buy a box of strawberries and do it yourself.
for your own safety, I just have to tell you that like there's no way this fruit hasn't touched a pineapple. So like I would recommend that
Mhm.
you like don't do that. And he's like, "Get me your manager and your mom." Like I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. Like
But people do just say like
yeah,
people will go into a place that specializes in one thing and
and
ask
just
for the
ask for
thing that they
something
don't
else.
supply.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
and like I do truly feel like if that were a real guy, he'd just be like, "Okay, what time?" Like,
Yeah. Like better to
and
not
I
even
understand why they
react.
didn't
Yeah.
exactly, because
Because
that's
it's a
funnier.
TV show and it's not real life, and so he has to have a funny reaction
Mhm.
for the
And I can
situational
suspend my
comedy.
disbelief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's actually
I
one of
don't
my
say
favoriteest
that's not
hobbies.
realistic. I actually hate this show and all TV now
Yeah.
because I never learned how to suspend my disbelief.
And again, we're not naming names, but trust that we could.
No, and I love my new job. For anyone
And
who's
everyone
wondering.
who works with you.
Yeah. Anyway, um,
Okay, so same secret.
Same secret. The Shrew with capital T, capital S. I also thought maybe we could put her for S, but her name is the Shrew. They call her Auntie Shrew, but like the Shrew, she's like, and
Yeah,
she's like the matriarch of the neighborhood. She
yeah.
keeps everything running. She shuts down the tractor that saves
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Frisbee's kids. Um,
Yeah.
like
What can
she's
she
a
not do?
staple. What
She's
can
the
she not do? I love
Manjumai
her.
of the field, you know?
I'm always saying that.
Yeah. Every
um,
community needs just kind of an old, stern woman, period. Like, end a sentence. That's
they
what you
keep it
need.
running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not an HOA lady. There's a difference.
No, 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 no,
Okay?
no. Boo, boo,
Don't
boo.
get that
I
mixed
said
up.
not a neighborhood, a community. This is a key difference in the
Yeah.
relationships that we have with each other. You need an old, stern woman that you can actually call Auntie Shrew and not like that bitch from the
Yeah.
HOA. Like,
It is so funny to me that like everyone talks about like make it land land of the free, home of the brave. Scotland, no, America.
America. Yeah.
Everyone talks about America like being land of freedom and like we have all these personal rights. And then like the first thing we do all the time is impose more restrictions on ourselves. Who invented an
Yes.
HOA?
Yeah, and like
For
for
why?
why? Probably the answer, because this is usually, if you're asking for why about some like weird thing about American systems, the answer probably is racism. That's just usually the answer, you know? So I
Sure.
feel like, and I haven't done any research on it, so I could be totally wrong, but it might be to keep your
I mean,
neighborhood segregated, you have to have strict rules that only people of a certain, economic status can keep up with.
I don't think that's
You
an
know what I
incorrect
mean?
answer. Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
yeah, that feels unfortunately right.
Yeah. Yeah.
My favorite depiction of an HOA in anything is the one uh sketch that Brian David Gilbert did where he's
Uh-huh.
like, "Hi, I'm from the HOA." It's like a little song.
Uh-huh.
But slowly you
He's
realize
really
that
good at
everyone in the
those.
HOA, he's so good. He's so
Yeah.
good about songs. He's so good about like kind of scary situations and
Mm-hmm.
combining those two things together. I
Yeah, yeah.
love
And
that.
like
I love
social
that.
commentary, but in a scary way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I really like that sketch a lot and we should link it here for everybody else to watch because it's a little bit
Yes.
spooky.
Everyone watch Brian David Gilbert.
That should just be
My
true anyway.
Yeah, that just be kind of our new motto. Usually we say, everyone go watch this movie, but what we really mean is go to youtube.com, search bar, Brian David Gilbert, enter, and just watch all those.
Yeah.
That's what we mean.
You know what? We actually have been sleeping on him because I love him. I watch a lot of his stuff, but like we
Yeah.
don't talk about him very often. I don't remember the last time if we ever have mentioned him on this channel. But like,
No.
yeah, we're not gonna make that mistake again.
It's not
Watch
because
Brian
we
David
don't
Gilbert.
have
Watch
love in our hearts.
Cowboy
We have
Pumpkin.
so many
Pumpkin
things to
Cowboy.
talk about, and like we were gonna talk about him eventually. You know what I mean? Like if we're not
Yeah.
talking about a certain creator, it's not because we don't know him.
Mhm.
It's just because we are too
We
stuck
haven't
in
got
talking
to
about the
him
same
yet.
things that we already have.
Yeah, yeah. But we're working on it. Um, wow. I mean, we're just halfway through my acronym. We haven't even talked about.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
this is
That's
so,
fine. I
because
think
like
this is what people are so expecting at this point. We're
they
not
better
talking
be.
about anything, you know? Like
Yeah.
saying this episode is about the secret of Nim is just like as an excuse for us to sit around and gab about nothing in particular.
Which is the point of a podcast.
Yes, these are the rules of the podcast. Otherwise, we would just make video
Hmm.
essays.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
for us to get recommendations on new movies to watch.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. We want
it's
to chat
fantastic.
about
It's like
nothing, and we want more movies.
How do you keep
Yay!
finding these? Did you open? I know, but you can't have this. I don't even know how you found this. They love. I have special insoles for my work shoes. No, thank you. Thank
Uh-huh.
you. Um, and they are obsessed with them. I'll just show you because like they're not even that fun, but this is their favorite thing in the world. Like it's not even like goo. It's just a flat insole. I use it so I don't have to wear socks in my like work shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose their freaking minds. They actually, this is insane. They opened the closet. I didn't even know they knew how to do that.
Didn't even know they knew how to
Knew how
do
to do
that.
that.
I think about that line all the time because my cats also know how to open doors, you know? Like if it's locked, they can't, but if it's not locked, they're like, if I just throw myself at this at lightning speed, it'll open. Which is actually so funny. Like I'll go to bed and like
Next
close
time.
my door and I lock it so that they can't do that and like get into all my shit while I'm sleeping. But then it's also
Yeah.
like in like the first 5 minutes while they're not used to me not being there, I just hear like thunk. A sad retreat. And then again the pitter patter of little feet.
Well, each one of them tries individually.
Yes.
It's
Like,
so
way to go,
funny.
baby, you're so stupid.
Oh my gosh, I love
Oh
that
man.
so much. That's awesome. So funny. Anyway, the last two letters are E for evil rat and then M for either Mrs. Brisby or mice,
Mm,
depending on if we wanted to go specific or vague.
right. Both are good. Let's see. Same secret. The shrew. Evil rat. Well, I think if we do Mrs. Brisby, because then it's like every other one is like a general thing and then a specific character. Evil rat, I guess, is also a specific character, but it's like a group of them. It's a collective.
Also the shrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and I also like stay at home mom. I think that's really funny.
It was like, because I had something else for the S at first. Probably same secret, to be honest. Because I was going through the other letters, I couldn't figure out T and E. I was like, I'll come back to those. M, mom, stay at home mom. And then I was like, wait, the letters are it. I like beautiful minded it, and I was like, this is awesome.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I think that's really funny. Um, I also think we haven't done the thing of where we capitalize a different letter in the word to spell out STEM
Yeah.
in a
Not for a
while. So
while. Yeah.
no, yeah.
A long
So
while.
either way, you will edit and publish this video. So you follow. It's up to your discretion. Whatever you choose to do with it. I just hope you follow the vibes. They will
Thank
guide
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will. I'll do my best. I actually just had the idea just now while you were talking to do like a poll on like my Instagram story or something, and then because nobody who follows me on Instagram is subscribed to this channel, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whitney. And so, but it doesn't
Naturally.
matter.
Does
I
she
can just
watch
people will just.
these?
Oh no, she's just subscribed.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. So, but then people don't have to know. I can just be like, hey, for like a brief explanation of what it's for, and then have like a
Yeah.
poll and see what people think. And
We
then
could
it's
also
actually kind of
call
a
Whitney
sneaky way of
to
getting
plug
people who follow
your.
me on Instagram to check it out.
Uh, I see what you're
I'm
saying.
just
I'm
saying.
picking up what you're putting down.
Hmm.
I'm voting on
So
your
here we
poll.
go.
I'm
Yeah.
actually not. I don't follow you on Instagram. I don't have Instagram.
Yeah, I know. That's okay.
Yeah. I also thought that we could call Whitney and Allison individually and ask them what they thought because they both have dealt with concussions in the past and were also there when we watched the movie. And so I thought
Oh,
they'd have
yes.
equal, if not opinions, then equal like vibes of consciousness around the movie.
Right, because they were there
Hmm.
at the same time when we all watched it together.
Yeah.
My fear with
Hmm.
that is that each of them would pick a different one. So then it would still be 2 against
Oh
2
yeah, and it would
instead of 1
be
against
tied.
1, and so then it would be tied still.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'll make a poll.
Yeah, do the Instagram thing. That'll be fun. Maybe we'll
Yeah.
get a new influx of followers.
Yeah.
And this time, people that know you.
This time people
So
that
that's
know
a
me.
little scary.
Yeah, but it's like the people who know me who also like not only watch my stories but would respond to my stories is like my cousin Grant. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still like, because you're not on Instagram watching every single person's story, you
Oh,
know? You're not, certainly. And I'm not
no,
either.
yeah.
Because I use it for, I realize that there are people that I like don't have their number. And so they like message me on Instagram. And so then I'm like, well, I guess I'll keep
Mm,
it so I can like, you know,
yeah.
reply to
And it
Karlee's
is
mom.
helpful. Yeah, aw.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is helpful to use it like for its original purpose as like a digital scrapbook space.
Yeah. Which I haven't done for months, actually.
No.
No.
Nor I for years, in
I
fact.
used to like do like a post every month, and I never called it
Yeah.
a photo dump because I think that's gross. Stop making me read the
My
word
old
dump.
my old coworker Grace would do that every month. But she wouldn't even leave it at that. She made us look at them
Mm.
before and after she posted them, and then made us go through the comments and everyone who liked it. Ask how long that lasted
Yeah.
before I did that. It
No.
wasn't very long.
No. I think I would throw her phone in the dumpster.
Literal
Like
photo dump.
every single day I have like less chill for people who are wasting my time. I'm like, you know what? I'm walking out of here. You know?
If it sucks, hit the
If
bricks.
it's exit the bricks,
So
and we've always said
seriously,
that. But like
that is true.
it's more and
I'm
more
actually
genuine every day. Like I'm not just checking out mentally. I'm physically standing up and walking out of this space right now. Don't talk to me. I don't care
hmm
about your
Yeah.
Instagram post. If I did, I would follow
hmm
you on Instagram.
Yeah. And it's like it's just so important to have a vibe check about you. Like
Mm-hmm.
how because I've had conversations with you and I've seen you have conversations with other people and like I know this about you specifically, like you're a very good listener. You don't take up more than your share in a conversation, unlike some of us, maybe sometimes. But like
Once
you have
again,
a very
not
good
naming any names.
no. Um, but like I know that you're not just saying that to get out of having a conversation with a person. Like for you to actively get up and get out of a conversation, the other person has to like you've got to really try.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to have a conversation about something that you're maybe not all that interested about. It's a
Right.
whole other thing to talk about something that literally no one else on this earth but you cares
Yeah.
about and you
Well, and
also
to be
shouldn't care about
bombarded
it.
with it, you know what I mean? Like if somebody's I'm like, "What did
Yes.
you do over the weekend?" and somebody's telling me about something like, "Oh, they went skiing," and I'm like, "I don't really ski." That's fine because that's like something that you're interested in. But if you're like, "I'm gonna show you my Instagram post that I've already showed you 4 times," and like, why?
Yeah.
Like, don't do that, please.
No. And also like whether it's being invited and like you're also engaging in the conversation, like if you don't ski very often, like, oh, like, where do you go? Do you have a pass? Like, I don't know much about it. Like, versus, oh, that's
Versus
nice.
somebody just sitting down and being
And then
like, "This is what I
like,
did this weekend, and I went skiing, and this is how it was," and like, yeah, the thing
yeah,
about a
yeah,
conversation instead of just a lecture. Like, I don't want to get a lecture from somebody who's not my professor.
yeah.
If I'm not
That's
paying
actually something.
you to lecture me, like, don't, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want that.
And sometimes, even if I'm paying you, let me stay home in bed.
Yeah.
Um, that's actually something else that I noticed about some of my coworkers, namely one who's
Namely one
his
who
own
will remain
special little boy.
nameless, but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
Not naming any names.
no. He interrupts me so much. And I didn't actually even notice at first because I think that's kind of a thing with people with ADHD, and just kind of also a thing with adult conversations is like you can kind of jump in here and there. You
Right.
can kind of cut people off a little bit. Like just make sure that you're doing it to where it's not rude and it's also balanced. You know,
Right.
always if it's not to say like if you've ever interrupted someone ever at all, you're a bad person. That's not it. But like I started to notice it's every time I talk. And it's
Yeah, that's
almost
annoying.
immediately
And
after
not
I
in like
start to talk.
an active listener way where like
No!
you're saying something and I would add like, oh, and also this, or I'd be like, yeah, that happened to me too. Where again, that's like an adult conversation. We're relating to another person.
Yeah. It
But it's
just
just
feels
you
like
start
he's
talking and he's like,
at
shut up.
me.
It's my turn now.
Yes.
That's so annoying.
Homie, you can't go more than 2 seconds without hearing your own voice? Like half the time it's you
You should
asked
start
me
a
a
podcast
question.
and then listen to it by yourself at work. Some of us have done that.
I'm not naming names. Yeah. No, it's so funny. Like again, you can just tell they're young. And I thought I'd have more patience for it, but I'm tired of it already.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, stay strong, you know?
thank you. Thank you. I need it. Oh, anyway, Secret of Nim!
Yay!
We love her. Let me just open this up by saying I haven't done my thing of going through and keeping notes. I don't know why I didn't I do know why. I didn't think about it before we did this. And that's why I don't have notes, but this is one of my all-time very favorite childhood movies. I watched it so often. It's been burned into the psyche and is a good it's a pretty like substantial reason why I am the way I am. That it, like you know, I'm pretty
There's
sure
always
anyway.
constantly in one small corner of your mind a rat who's also a wizard, and he's just there.
His name is Nicodemus. He's got really long freaky nails.
Yeah.
And he just has magic. And they don't ever really explain why.
No, they don't
Yeah,
need to.
this is
It's like this is
what
a
I love
world in
about the
which
movie.
magic is like innocuous. It's like, of course he has magic. He's a wizard. But then science is like the new special fancy thing that has to be discovered, right? Much like our world.
Yeah. Yes, there's so much about this movie that is just so utterly charming and like delicate. It feels like how the Chronicles of Narnia illustrations made me feel. Like kind of watercolor. And I should also preface it by saying this is a Don Bluth movie. This is also the first Don Bluth movie after Don Bluth is a very talented animator who worked at Disney for a very long time. And then he said, actually, I hate this so much. Valid. And he split from Disney and made his own animation company, beginning with The Secret of Nim. And Don Bluth Productions includes movies such as Anastasia, An American Tail, Balto.
Need we say more?
No. Like, this man is probably the only one who really understands me. Yeah. Like, he's so good, and I miss him every single day. I think that we should have more John Bluth movies in the world. And when will he return from the war?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thoughts on it.
I mean, yeah, everyone watched The
Yeah.
Secret of Him. Like, yeah, no, it's very good, and I think it has like
whimsical. That's the word.
Yeah, it has a lot of whimsy. It has a lot of charm.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see why, like, I mentioned this to you, that I was like surprised that I had never seen it. Like my whole life I had heard of it and I knew that it was like a lot of people's favorite childhood movie and like I knew that it was a good, you know what I mean, but I just like had never seen it. Which is surprising because it seems like a movie that I would watch as a child.
It really does.
I watched Totoro like a lot. You know?
Yeah.
Like it feels like kind of a similar vibe where it's like just kind of a small story but very magical and powerful, you know?
It's kind of like if Totoro and Labyrinth had a baby, I think. Like there's a very real sense of this is a dream and I'm dreaming, but also
But
it's just a lady on an errand.
Real. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just on an errand.
This is just a mom and her son is sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it's just really that's it.
Yeah. And she
it is
needs
a lot
to do
like
whatever she can to help him.
Those two movies in combination, I think that's a good way of describing it. And those are two movies that I watched a lot as a kid. Also, fun fact, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat with Donny Osmond, I did watch that a lot as well. And you might think, that's weird. Yeah, it is.
That also is one of those things, like, don't read into it.
Yeah.
Like, now that I know, that makes a lot of sense about you.
Yeah. You're like, oh, that was the missing piece in your puzzle with me. You're like, oh,
and now we can stop being friends. I know everything about you.
See ya. I've never said that before, but now everybody knows. By everybody, I mean the 5 people who will watch this, which is you 3 times before it's posted. And then my Aunt Gungvar, who will say, please watch 3 Idiots. What are you waiting for? Try Avisham, it's so good.
We will.
We hear you.
I promise. We really, really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will get to it, and I'm certain I'll like it. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I was certain that I'd like Barfy, too. I'm pretty sure.
We just need, like, a how it should have ended. You know? Just tack that onto the end of Barfy, and then I think it would really make it. Because now, like, when you think about it, the whole thing is a little bit tinged with, I know how this ends.
Yeah.
But if it had a different ending, then I think the rest of the movie wouldn't feel that way, you know?
Yeah.
It would just be like, this guy really is the Charlie Chaplin of modern India. You know?
Which he still is, to be clear.
He did a great job, yeah.
He did a really good job. Phenomenal physical comedy. Like, I loved his facial expressions. Everything about him. Anyway, we've already talked about that. We don't need to get into it again.
How often do you see a movie that, like, there's, like, debate about non-autistic actors playing autistic characters and whatever, but that's something that has happened for a long time. But how often do you watch a movie where both of the main characters are differently disabled? Like, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
The main guy is deaf. Like, nobody else does that, you know?
No, and I felt like accurately portrayed, and not necessarily just accurate, but like very I don't want to say like sympathetic isn't the right word either, but like
sympathetic but not with pity, right?
Guess.
That he's like,
no, exactly,
coming from a frame of like, this is how people actually live, and I want to be like a faithful but charitable representation of that.
Yeah, and also, how do we make it kind of funny? Because there's sometimes like the fact that he's deaf really contributes to a joke, and again, not in a mean-spirited way, just like
and we're not making fun of the deaf community as a whole.
Yeah.
But it's just like, yeah, sometimes you do, like, because of your life situation, you find yourself in like some sort of hijinks that wouldn't have happened if you,
Oh,
you
does
know,
he ever like
if you were
hijinks? Yeah.
hearing or if you were allistic or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Like,
So I thought it was
I
fun. I
liked
thought it had a lot of potential. But I just
yeah.
didn't like the ending.
So sad. And like, this isn't because we don't like unhappy ending or
No,
like
I
we
think to
both
me,
like tragedies and we both like bittersweet endings.
yeah, like
I
you
just
think that it's a love story between this one character and then it just isn't like that wasn't like inherently bad to me, but I just I don't even remember her name.
I don't either.
The one who Priyanka Chopra plays. She just seemed
Hmm.
like too young,
They
you
seemed
know?
very young. They like
And so
just
it
had
seemed
sibling
like,
vibes to me.
yeah, it felt so like brother and sister,
Yeah.
but he's like a much older brother, you know what I mean? Like there's like an age gap or they're like half siblings, you know, obviously like they're not related at all. But that's how it
Hmm.
felt. It's like, oh, this is my like adopted kid sister, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, leave your
Just
most
upsetting.
controversial opinion about the movie Butterfree down below.
Meanwhile, we'll go over the plot of Secret of Nim for those who haven't seen it. And again, you
Yes.
should fix that soon, soon, soon because it's really good. And I do think this is one that like if you grew up with that as a child, you're more inclined to like it as an adult because it is kind of weird. But I also think like if you go into it with a mindset of like I'm watching a piece of art instead of like I'm going to watch a movie with like perfect plot and like it's perfectly spaced out and like the
Right.
beats are all like that's not
Right.
necessarily what it is because again this is the first movie that Don Bluth ever made parting from Disney and he wanted to make something different than what they were making and he
Right.
did.
So you're
That's
not
the
gonna see
point
the
of Secret of
traditional
Nim.
Disney plot and pacing. And
Hmm.
I mean, any movie has like its own particular strength. You're like, well, I really watch this movie because of the scenic design, the costume design, whatever, that's like their strength.
Hmm.
And this movie, like me, yeah, I don't feel like the pacing was like bad, but it is very not Disney.
Yeah.
So if you go into it expecting, yeah, Disney plot and pacing, it's gonna be weird. But its strength is
Hmm.
really in like the slowness of the story and the like
Yes.
beautiful artwork. Right. It's like evoking a
Yeah.
different emotion than watching a Disney movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is there are times that it's very slow. The plot of the movie is that Mrs. Brisby, one of her sons is sick. He has pneumonia. Um, and they need to leave their home because the farmer is going to plow the fields and their little home is going to get all chopped up. But she can't move her son because he's so sick. He will die. And so she goes to like on this little adventure to figure out a way that she can move her whole home and keep her
Hmm.
whole family safe. She's got three other kids as well, and she needs to.
Yeah. And
She's
she's
just doing
a
what she
single
can to
mom.
protect. She's a single
And she's
mom,
like, how can
freshly
I protect
widowed.
all of my children without
Hmm.
moving this one from his bed? Because he literally cannot walk. He's too sick.
Hmm. He
Yeah.
can't. He's not conscious.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah. There's one scene in particular that's uh, I have found that throws people off on occasion, and it's where she's and I don't know why I'm blanking on the son's name. Do you remember his name? The
Uh,
only names that are coming to mind are Jonathan and Justin, but Jonathan is her husband, dead husband. Um,
yeah.
and Justin is the tall rat.
Yes. Timmy.
Me. That's like basic kid boy name. I should have guessed that.
Yeah. I
I
was
feel
like,
silly.
it's not William, but it's like the same flavor of child name.
Yeah,
Timmy.
yeah,
Yes.
Timmy. Yeah, okay, I guess that makes sense. Um, anyway, so
Will
she's got
Wheaton?
this powder.
Sorry,
What?
Martin Brisby is voiced by Will Wheaton.
Huh? Martin?
That's
The like little boy mouse?
Martin Brisby, fictional character. Yes, thank you. Yeah. It's just weird because like when I Googled it, you know how it'll have like a small little picture of each character? For him, it's
Hmm.
not a picture of Martin. So I was like, what? Martin the little boy, but then it's just like this old, but it's because it's just the wrong picture.
That's, yeah,
But
fascinating.
yeah, so like then when I click on it and look at the other pictures, then it shows the baby. So then it's like, why was this the main picture? I'm talking about the Secret of Nim, the one movie.
There's actually two.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the one.
The right one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's Will
Hmm.
Wheaton apparently. In both of them?
Wow.
See, this is my question. I'm like, how, what do you mean? Okay, if I go to Martin Brisby played by, there's 4 different guys there.
What?
But there's only 2
Four for
movies.
two movies?
So I don't understand why he has 4 voice actors for 2 movies. This is deeply confusing.
We've
I don't,
stumbled on some kind of conspiracy.
yeah, I think this might go all the way to the top. At least halfway. We'll have to look into it more to know for sure.
Wow. What a weird thing.
That was like the most confusing 50 seconds of my life.
Yeah.
I was like,
Will
Will
Wheaton.
Wheaton.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah,
What were we
super
talking about?
strange. Oh, great question. Oh, we were looking up the little boy's name who has pneumonia because she has 4 kids and one of them's Timmy and he has pneumonia,
Yes, and one of them is Martin, and he's voiced by Will Wheaton.
apparently. Or also maybe 3 other people. And then there's
Maybe.
also Teresa is one of the daughters and Cynthia is the
Teresa.
younger daughter. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the littlest one is like her entire outfit is just a bow. It's one single ribbon wrapped around her and tied behind her in a big, big bow, and that's so cute. It's so cute. Um, oh, I remember the scene. The scene that can kind of throw people off sometimes is Mrs. Brisby has just come back from seeing Mr. Ages, who is an old, very intelligent mouse, but he's busy working on something. But here's some medicine, and like go away, go. Um, and so she goes to feed Timmy the broth. Um, and she's just sitting there gently spoon feeding him um the broth while her other kids kind of sneak into the room around him because they're all kind of worried that he's gonna die. And she's like, no, he's not gonna die. But like that's what she's scared of. That's what she's trying to prevent because like it's a very real possibility that he will. But at this moment, no, he's not going to die. I have medicine for him. I'm feeding him the medicine. He's just very, very sick. And there's a lady singing in the background, and it's kind of slow and very gentle, and like it goes on for a while. And it's like, why are we watching this? And the point is to like slow down because this
Hmm.
is like a real moment where
Right, right, right. Like,
this is a sick boy being surrounded by his loved ones. We're all worried about him and a little confused about the situation. Some of them are like, little Cynthia, she's so young.
yeah.
She's like, is he gonna die? Like, what's going on? She doesn't know. Then
Yeah,
she's
like
the
the
one
little
who's
kids
sneaking
are
in.
like older than
Yeah.
he is, but still young enough that like of course they don't understand, like they're still also kids.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they understand the
It's
concept of death because of their recently passed father.
yeah, who died?
Yeah.
He's dead. He's really dead.
Yeah.
And he doesn't come back. Like, don't think like, oh, that's gonna be a twist.
No.
It's a weird movie. There are a lot of unexpected turns. That
Hmm.
doesn't happen. He's super dead.
He's just still
And the
dead.
fact
Yeah,
that he's
he
dead,
stays dead. And it's not
he
like
always remains dead.
the magic, like the power of love. brings him back. It's like, no, he's just like, they just have to live with this now.
Yeah, and the fact that he is dead and gone is a huge factor in pushing the movie on, because Mrs. Brisby comes
Yes,
to
it's quite
learn
significant.
that, yes, she comes to learn that her husband Jonathan was not exactly who she thought he was, but that he had been a lab mouse and had been injected with some kind of serum that made him hyper intelligent. Um, and that he was part of this group that called themselves the Rats of Nim. They lived in a rose bush on in the farmer's garden. This is where they congregate. And so she comes to learn that Jonathan was actually a huge part of this organization that she had no idea even existed at all. And so she has to go in and like kind of integrate herself into this society who says, yes, we owe a lot to your husband, and because of that we will help your family.
Yes.
And that's like the whole,
it's quite sweet.
yeah, they all loved Jonathan very, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also this really kind of funny moment where she's like, okay, she's found the rose bush, she's found like the Rats of Nim, and Mr. Ages is there also, and she's like, bitch, what are you doing here? And he's like, girl, I can say the same to you. And
Yeah.
it's very much like the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme where they like see each other from across a bar and are like,
yeah, they're like, what? Yeah.
because like you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't be here
Like,
either. And that's
wait,
very
hang
funny.
on. What were you doing?
Devil's Sacrament. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
and
think it's
it's
like something that makes it really different from like a Disney movie is like um the the void where Jonathan was supposed to be is present throughout the entire movie. Like you feel the weight
it's
of like
very loud.
he was very significant for all the Rats of Nim, and of course he was very significant to his wife and children, right? And so now there's like the whole movie is kind of working around that kind of hole where he would fit in. And I think in a lot of things like I mean, it's such a common thing for like, oh, the Disney princesses are all orphans or whatever, but it doesn't really come up for them
You don't feel the loss. Yeah, because he has a name
in like a
and he
lot
has
of
a
them.
face.
Yeah. And he
We
has a
know, like,
legacy.
yes,
Yeah.
he's got
So I think
kids
it's
and a
something that,
family and a wife, and
yeah.
he had a job
And
that
friends and
he can't do
colleagues, he
anymore.
had, yeah.
Yeah,
He was
and
really
everything.
an important person. And I think like it's a significant thing that really drives it and makes the mood very different from a lot of like kids animated shows, right? You can feel like yeah, the weight of their grief. Even they don't have to say it. It's just there. So it's
Yeah.
very like in a way it's pretty like pretty mature for a kids movie, right? Because you have that moment where she's just like feeding Timmy the broth and they're all gathered around like afraid that he's gonna die. And it lasts for like way longer than it maybe typically would. So that you can feel that like the stakes. It's like, yeah, these are field mice. And so in real life, it doesn't matter. But in the world of the
Yeah.
movie that you're watching, it has to matter. So they have to take that
Yeah.
time and be like, oh, like I miss Jonathan, you know?
Yeah. Um, and that's actually something I just barely wrote down about the whole movie, is that like all of their goals feel so like small and significant at the same time. Like Mrs. Brisby, her whole goal is to move her cinder block house like 10 feet to the left. She just wants it
Like
to be
just out
in the
of
lee
danger.
in the lee of
Yeah.
the stone. Yes, just enough so that she knows that the farmer won't ever be able to plow through her home. Um, the rats have her drug the farmer's cat, Dragon, and it like is the most stressful thing I've ever seen. And like their whole
Because
goal
she
is they
has
want
to
to
go
try to move
right
out
up.
of the rose bush.
Yeah.
Right up to his bowl in the home. And
Mhm.
like all of these things are their tasks that mice and rats would like be worried about.
Yeah.
But so like, yeah, you say like, oh, it's only that. That's the only thing they're trying to work on. But like that thing, the small thing, is the biggest thing in the world to them.
Mhm.
And so it feels so important to you too, because they communicate that very well. Like that scene where Mrs. Brisby has to drug the cat, she's trembling, and I don't think
Mhm.
I've ever seen another animated character tremble like her. Like her whole body shakes. She looks like
Yeah.
a scared mouse,
She's like
and you
that
feel that.
chair that's like shaped like this. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Yeah, she's like that.
that's exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and she does look like a frightened mouse, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, that's just like a small animal
Yeah.
with like basic instincts, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's such a charming combination of those two things where like their whole goal is to move out of the farmer's house and like one single valley away so that they can be safe and at peace. But like it's their whole world.
Mhm.
It's one valley to us, but it's a whole world to them, and they do a very good job of communicating that scale. Oh my gosh, I see a bunch of crows outside and they're playing with a paper cup. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it. They're
Are
just
they
on that hill, but they were passing it to each other. Can you see?
Oh. Yeah, I can see that
I
a
don't
little
think
bit.
you can see.
Like a tiny, tiny.
I can't zoom in on this camera.
I know, I just have to sit really close.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Yeah,
not a
like
paper cup. It's like a yeah, in the shade.
in the shade of the tree, yeah. I can see like a little
Yeah.
bit of movement.
That's yeah, there's four of them.
Wow.
And they were all sitting in a little circle and they were passing it around to each other. I literally
That's
life is
so
beautiful. I've never
awesome.
meant it so much.
That is so awesome. When I was in Barcelona, they have like those little green like parakeets just around. The same as like not as common as pigeons, but almost. Like you just be walking down the
Mm-hmm.
street and there's like a little green like parakeet, but they're quite smart.
Uh-huh.
And so there was like somebody had dropped like part of a piece of bread. And so I don't even remember like the like pigeons were all there and like kind of fighting over it or something, and somehow the parakeet like tricked them so it could take the majority of the bread. Like it would like pick it up or something, and like they would all like chase after it and then like rip off, and then he would get like the biggest piece, or like I don't remember what it was, but
It's
we were like
amazing.
it was so smart. We were like, no
You see, and you
way.
see stuff like that, and you really think like maybe the secret of NIM is happening in real life.
Yeah,
Maybe they
yeah,
just are that smart.
yeah. Maybe when
Yeah,
your power goes out, it's because rats are stealing your electricity for their underground lair. That's also magic. But they're
that's
not
also
lighting it with
like
magic. They're lighting it
oh,
with electricity. These
with
are engineers.
science. This is the funniest part about this whole movie is because the plot line where they used to be just street rats who were then captured by a lab, injected
Hmm.
with a serum to make them super smart. Suddenly they can read, they can understand physics and engineering, etc. And then we get down to the innards of the rose bush, and the leader of the rats, his name is Nicodemus, one with
Hmm.
really long
He
nails
has
and
acrylics.
magic. He
He
just
just
has
has
magic.
magic.
Why? They never explain this, but he's got this special amulet too that he gives to Mrs. Brisby, and like,
Yeah,
where'd
and
they
it's
get
like,
that?
why? Like,
And
did they
it does
have
matter. It
a
comes
magic
back.
amulet before? Or was this also part of like when you reach peak intelligence, you understand science and also magic? Like, is that part of the process? Who knows?
Maybe
What I
we'll never
also
know.
find super interesting is like the idea that like, oh, the serum gives them this intelligence and now um they have a greater understanding of life, and so they're different from the other animals. But then like Mrs. Brisby like learns how to read because Jonathan just like teaches her. So then it's like, did they not need the serum? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
how do
like
they
how
all
much
just
did they
like learn how
actually
to
do?
read? How is her
Yeah.
mental capacity bigger than the average mouse, despite her not having been in the lab? She just learns, like, through the power of love, you know?
Yeah.
That's just like, there's a lot of really fascinating implications in this movie.
There are. And you think maybe they would explore those in the sequel, but they don't. Don't watch it. If you think, oh, I really like this movie, I'll watch the second one. Don't do it, okay? Stop. Stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
Pretend it doesn't exist. In fact, it doesn't. There is no Secret of Nim 2. There is no Warren Bossing say, shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, it is interesting though. And I think one of the side effects of the serum is that they live for much longer than like your average mouse, but the intelligence thing is like, yeah, where did that come from? And like she can clearly communicate well with them and like hold her own in a conversation
Yeah.
and like all these things that it's like what did the serum actually do to you, for you mentally, except for, obviously we didn't get to see them do the engineering and construction and all that.
Right. By the
Also,
time you
there is a
get there,
similar
it's
plot
already
point.
built.
Exactly. Yeah. In Ratatouille, there's like that dropped plot point of we shouldn't be stealing food. Also in this movie, the reason they're moving is they feel guilty about stealing
Oh yeah, stealing
electricity.
the electricity from the farmer. And I like, here's the thing. This is another interesting implication, is like there is like objective morality in which stealing is bad.
Mhm.
And they, because of their super intelligence, have discovered this metaphysical truth.
Mhm.
Like, I just think, like, if I were a rat and the only way that I could sustain my community of rats was by stealing this electricity, I would think of it as a morally good thing to steal, because this is how you enable your society to function.
Right.
So I don't
So
understand how are they like, oh, oh no, stealing is
stealing is
so bad. Like,
wrong.
how did you figure that out? What do you mean?
And there are
Haven't
two
you ever watched
options for that.
Aladdin? Is it an objective
Les
moral?
Miserables?
But like, anyway, yeah.
No, there are two options for that I can think of.
Mhm.
And the one is that like if you as a tiny colony of rats can only be stealing so much electricity. Like it
Right.
can't possibly be,
There's like
and
what,
that's not something
12
that the
people?
farmer or his wife. Exactly. Neither of them ever mentioned it. Neither of them brought it up. Like, why would
Hmm.
that be? Clearly, they haven't noticed the
Right,
strain
like
on their
it's not
electricity.
stealing from them in a way that harms them and benefits you. It's just stealing from them in a way that benefits you
Just a little
with
bit.
like little to no repercussion for that. Like it's not ruining their life. They're fine.
Right.
They've barely
And
noticed.
if that is something that you are consuming so much electricity that you genuinely do have to feel guilty about stealing it from someone else,
Right.
what could you possibly be doing as a colony of 12 rats that
Yeah.
required that much electricity?
They're uploading 4-hour long 1080p YouTube videos, H Bomber Guy style. Jenny Nicholson style.
Jenny Nicholson is actually just the rats
Yeah.
of Nim in a trench
They're
coat.
a trench coat and a wig, a white brunette woman
Yeah.
wig.
And then
Like how
costumes on
they're
top of that.
constantly streaming, they're attending every university. Like, there's no way that you could be using that much electricity as 12 rats. You're fine.
Oh, yeah. So funny. And like I get just wanting to move because it's safer, because that way you don't have to worry about like, oh, the cat getting you, which I like that they treat as a very real danger still. They're not
Right.
like, we're rats, we're better than you. Like, we're gonna get, like, no, that's a cat, that's a predator, and he will get you.
Yeah.
He's good at his job, except for when they
Yeah.
start drugging him. So,
And
like,
there's
that's
also
a
like when the people like call the farmer and they're like, "Hey, these scientists from NIM are wondering if you saw any rats," right? So there's also the safety, like not just from the cat, but from having to go back into captivity after now you've
Nim.
seen the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So that would
this
make
is
sense. But I
like,
don't understand. Yeah,
yeah,
like it's not a
the
problem with
stealing.
stealing, it's a problem with safety.
No. Yeah. And they don't even know about the Nim thing until after, like near the within the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Mrs. Brisby overhears that phone call and is like, I've got to tell them, I've got to warn them.
Hmm.
And she does, and she's the hero. Actually, I do
She
want
is
to
a
talk about
hero.
Mrs. Brisby for a second. She's such a unique character. There are very few characters that I can think of in fiction like her. She's a widow. She's very fragile. She barely knows how to read. She's frightened and she breaks down and she misses her husband. And she says this a lot. I wish Justin were here. I wish Justin were here. He would know what to do. And we don't get to see it, especially in modern movies, modern storytelling these days. Because, like, we have a lot of girl bossified characters. And we all know how.
Started on the girl bossified characters.
Nope. But and we've talked about characters who are, strong, independent female characters in their own right, like Danielle, from Ever After, movie of all time, love of my life, Ever After, who's very strong in a very different way. She is strong. She is capable. She is powerful. And Mrs. Brisby is not. She is fragile. She's delicate, and she doesn't know what she's doing. Yeah, she's been thrust into this world that she has no, is brand new to her. She is afraid. She's just lost her husband. She's going to lose one of her children. They're going to lose their house. She's desperate and she's frantic and she wants to help. And she learns to be a little bit braver, but ultimately, there's not a ton of change in her character other than oh, this is new.
I think she knows
fundamentally more. Yeah. But they don't feel the need to change her, I think is what I'm trying to get at. Is they don't think, oh, she's a super shy, timid, super scared mouse who misses her husband. And she really stays that through most of the movie. Even by the end, she feels she seems a lot more at peace. They're safe. Their home is moved. They're going to live. They're happy. She's helped the rats. All of these things. And she feels more at peace, but she never stopped missing her husband.
Right.
She never stopped being concerned about her kids. She never stopped trying.
Right. It implies that courage is a behavior and not a characteristic, right? She's super afraid of all of these things, but she has it's what choice do I have?
Yeah.
I'm super afraid of doing this, but if I don't, I'm putting my son's life in danger. So I just have to do it. And
someone had to tell her that,
and I'm
too.
Gonna cry. And then it's whatever.
Yeah.
I still have to do it.
Do it.
Do it scared.
Do it anyway.
Literally do it scared.
Literally do it scared. Yes. Same hat. And the thing is, too, is she just doesn't know that inherently. Auntie Shrew had to tell her that at some point, too. And I love the Shrew. I love her character just so much because she's a little ridiculous. And as a kid, I was I hate this. I hate her so much. She's so annoying. Why does she keep butting in?
It's funny because she's literally a shrew. So it's in the name.
Why didn't I recognize that as a kid? Stupid idiot.
Yeah. What were you 6?
But she means well and she loves this family and she's going to keep them safe. Mrs. Brisby hops on that tractor to stop the tractor and she doesn't stop the tractor. The Shrew hops on the tractor because she's you're literally insane and you're going to kill yourself. I will help you. She
instead of you're insane and you're gonna kill yourself, I gotta get myself out of this situation. She's you're insane and you're gonna kill yourself unless I step in.
Yes.
She's right or
no
not.
hesitation. She is so yes. And she doesn't hold that against her at all. At any point, she's not well, I stopped the tractor. She never even said that. I actually no, never once. She's they're collecting themselves in a little pile of grass after the tractor stops. Mrs. Brisby is sobbing. She's in hysterics. She's saying over and over again, I wish Jonathan were here. I wish Jonathan were here. Yeah. And Mrs. Shrew says,
which is a totally fair reaction.
Totally valid. That's scary. You don't know what to do.
Whose son is sick and you have to move right now. You're being evicted. We're going to bulldoze your house. You'd freak out and you'd be damn, I wish somebody else was here. Of course.
Yeah. Especially your very capable, canonically hyper intelligent husband who you don't know this, but has connections in essentially a rat mafia. Yeah, no,
Feel like,
Jonathan
yeah,
is
that
very
would be nice to
capable.
have.
It might be. And she doesn't at this moment, and the shrew tells her, like, hey, look, you need to get it together. You have kids. They're still alive. They might not be for long. Like, you need to figure this out.
Hmm.
In a very, like, collected way, very comforting. Like, she's so tender to her, but she's also like just enough kick in the ass that Mrs. Brisby needs to, like, dude, you need to, like, you can't just wallow. You need to take action. And you
Yeah.
can. Like, I love the shrew. What an
And
incredible
then
thing to say. Like,
I don't care
I'm
who
tired of
knows
pretending
it.
I don't. The shrew.
I'm gonna yell it
Like,
from the rooftops.
it's just like, I never appreciated her as a kid. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, we all need help sometimes. And we all need someone to, like, tell
Hmm.
us what we need to do. Because that's really what she needed in that moment, right? Like, she wanted Jonathan, she wanted her husband there. But what she really needed was just someone to tell her a plan. And
Right.
she had the plan then. The shrew's like, hey, you could, I mean, you can see the great owl. And
Yeah.
Ms.
It's
Brisby's
not
like,
a
all
plan
right,
that she likes, but she's like, well, now that I have the plan, I'll do it.
I will do it. And she does.
Yeah.
She goes
Like,
to
you
see the
don't
great
have to
owl.
like it. You just have to do it.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Um, so she does. She just goes to see the great owl, who, by the way, is one of the most terrifying characters ever in fiction. I'm gonna say that. That owl scared the shit out of me as a kid. And I, like, there were sometimes that I'd skip scenes in movies that I didn't want to see. Most of the time they were like secondhand embarrassment scenes.
Hmm.
Very rare, like, I never skipped
Understandable.
scary scenes. But so, like, I let this one play, but also every time I was like, oh shit, everybody else seen this? Like, oh my gosh, his head turns upside
Do
down.
you guys
I
know that
don't
he's
even,
kind of scary?
he's
Like,
covered in spider webs.
hello?
Ugh.
Yeah,
Like,
he
I don't
wears a
even think owls,
cloak made of spider
he,
webs.
yeah.
That's cool character design, and it's also so scary.
Yes, his eyes glow. That's not like normal owl. His
No.
eyes just glow. That's part of his, is like, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Again,
He
why?
has like not colored contacts, but like glow in the dark contacts.
Like that one guy. You've seen that guy on TikTok who he had his eye installed, like a flashlight installed.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like that,
Yeah. Super cool.
but both of them, and they still work his eyeballs. He can see.
Yeah.
He also doesn't eat her, so, like,
Yeah, that's true.
shout out to the great owl.
Yeah. Even
Mhm.
though he coulda.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
but he
easily.
didn't.
She's small.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, and he's like, "Damn, girl, all right." Well, actually, no, he's not gonna help her, and then she's like, "I'm so sad my husband Jonathan Brisby isn't here." And Owl goes, "Hold up. Jonathan Brisby? You're Mrs. Jonathan Brisby?" Um,
And she's like, yeah, why?
and she's
Because again,
like,
she doesn't
"Mhm.
know about the mafia thing
No."
yet.
And the owl also doesn't tell her. He's like, "Oh, okay,
She's
here's
just
the
like, oh,
thing
I
that you could do
recognize
that
that
is separate
name.
to that."
Yeah, I recognize that name for no reason. Anyway. Yeah. He like
um,
doesn't want to get in trouble with the rat mafia. You can't say too much.
yeah.
I'm
I was
feeling
like, why
so
are they
luxurious in this
collaborating?
gigantor
I
chair.
I was gonna tell you, you look
It's like the
cozy
thing is like
as
it's
all
normal
get
size,
out.
like it's big, but it's not huge. But when you slouch in
Yeah.
it, it's like enormous.
It looks like a throne. It literally looks like you're gonna disappear into it.
Yeah. This is
It
just
looks
gonna like kind
awesome.
of wrap around me.
Yeah, man, I wish I had a big cozy armchair. My parents have one in their sunroom they don't use very often, and I wanted it. I wanted it so bad,
Hmm.
but I didn't get to keep it. And now I've got to pay for one on my own, just some kind of
Ugh,
bullshit.
boo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Um, do you know how much rugs are, by the way?
Oh, if they're actually good and not gonna fall apart, they have to be expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
The constant battle of like, well, so the person who made this should be compensated for their art, of course. But also the
Yeah.
person who buys it is poor. So
Yeah.
what now? What am I supposed to do?
I can't
No.
make one myself. I don't
No.
know how.
I don't know how. And the price of buying all the materials and learning how is somehow even more expensive than buying it from somebody
Worse.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, life is like
Yeah.
miserable at
It's so
times.
hard. It's so hard. Yeah, but I'm being
Yeah.
really brave about it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because bravery is an action, not a characteristic.
Yeah.
And we learned that from Mrs.
hmm
Brisby.
We did. I also, and this is, I kind of go back and forth on how I feel about it. And today I feel like I like that her name is Mrs. Brisby. She doesn't have a first name. Not that we know, anyway. Like her
Right.
name, her title is Mrs. Brisby. They all call her Mrs. Jonathan Brisby. Like her identity is like intentionally anonymous. I feel like it's
hmm
so tied up into the welfare. Like she's a mother and she was
Yeah.
a wife. And like I don't know, I feel like you could talk about like, oh well, her husband who's dead has a name and he's not even there, and like she doesn't even have a name. And I feel like usually that would really, really grind my gears. And I can't articulate very well why it doesn't bother me so much in this instance. I feel like it was a very intentional choice to give
To not
her
give
the
her a name.
name Mrs.
Because
Brisby.
even her children all have names and you like
Yeah,
barely see them, right? The movie is like kind of not
yeah,
about them, it's about her.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
see what you're saying though, how like in any other movie it would just feel very like anti-feminist of like, oh, why are we only naming the male characters?
yeah.
Doesn't even pass the
But
Bechdel test, which is like bare minimum, right? But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like it says something about her character. Like she never tells people her first name. Like it's almost like her choice to be like,
yeah,
you can identify me by my family, not just me.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So it feels like empowering in a way for her to make the choice of like, I go by Mrs. Brisby
hmm
because my husband and kids are important to me.
Yeah, yeah. And like
Instead
it
of it
doesn't
being like,
strip
oh,
away
this
her own
movie was written
identity.
by a man and didn't even give her a first name. It's like, well, he made the movie about her. Like, you can give him some credit
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. And like I know that it was based on like a book. Also, her name in the book was Mrs. Frisbee, and they changed it to be Mrs. Brisby, which I like. I like
Mm,
better than Frisbee.
yeah,
I don't think you'd take it
Frisbee
seriously
is
if
a
it was
little
Frisbee.
too childish. Yeah.
Yeah,
As much
Brisbee
as
is
we
like
like a
that's a human
whimsical
person name.
movie. Yeah.
You've got to
Yeah.
balance it out a little bit.
hmm
Um,
And Brisbee, I think, just has a better sound to it anyway.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
it's easier to say.
Mrs.
Frisbee,
Brisbee. It's
Frisbee. It
softer.
feels that's a name for a mouse.
Yeah.
Frisbee.
A nice
Um,
soft name. If it started with an
yeah,
F, you'd be like, that's a little harsh. It's a little weird for a mouse.
Frisbee. So fucking Mrs.
Mr.
Frisbee.
Wickham. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Um, I also, and this is an important thing for me to mention, I think I need to get ahead of the allegations, is because we haven't mentioned uh the tall rat, the captain of the guard, Justin,
Oh yeah.
um, who has like a thing for Mrs. Brisby. He meets her and he's like, um, hi.
Hi.
And she's like,
Oh my gosh. Like pulling out his compact, like,
yeah, like
hi.
he's wearing like he has like a fun little moment where he's like sneaking up behind Mr. Ages and like picks him up and snuggles him around, and then he's like, oh, who might you be?
Yeah.
Like where he's like his normal goofy self for just a second, and then he's like, girl, you gotta calm down. Like
You're in
be
the
real,
presence
there's a
of a
lady here.
lady right now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And there's like enough of a thing where it's like, girl, you were freshly widowed, but also I get it. Where
Good
she's
for
like,
you.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, this place is, wow, it's so beautiful. And he's like, what's beautiful? And she's like, oh, the lights. And he's like, oh, yeah, them too. Like, they don't
And
even
you're
really
like,
mention it ever again. But it's like, girl, what was going on there? Huh?
whoa. Yeah.
They had like, wow, like Jonathan who? Anyway, I
Yeah.
really like that. I love Justin. He
Mhm.
also says
They
damn
have
in this
mad
movie, and I think
chemistry.
that's great. They have mad chemistry. He's so charming. I love him.
Yeah.
He's a kind rat. He's
Mhm.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And good
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like one of those where,
Good for
like, do you
her.
ever watch like a TV show or a movie where like somebody's spouse dies and then like a month later somebody else is like, it's time for you to move on? And it's like, you don't get to dictate that. And also, no, it isn't. It's been 1 month, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but in like a cool way where it's like, well, they don't have to be, they're not like about to get married or whatever. It's just like, oh, she can like
Mhm.
have a little fun. It's okay.
Yeah. She can be a really pretty mouse, and
Yeah.
other people can
And
think
somebody
that. And
can
then
say kind of
she's
nice things to her and she'll say, anyway.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
that's fine.
I do think that they got married down the road, but that's just
Down
me.
the road.
There's
Yeah.
no,
But they could
yeah.
take their time with it, because it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. And he also lives a valley away now. Like they moved, so she can't see him super
Right.
regularly. But
Yeah.
yeah. I love Justin. And then we have Evil Rat, and I don't even know what his name is, but he's like as evil
You
a
don't have
character
to
as you
remember his
could
name because
possibly
it's
get.
just evil. You look at him and you're like, oh,
He's
that's
just
a
Evil
bad guy.
Rat.
He's untrustworthy.
Yeah. He is like straight villain vibes. He wears
Yeah.
like a dark cloak. He's got evil, crazy eyebrows. Not everyone with big eyebrows is evil. Nicodemus also had big eyebrows, but like
Mhm.
his eyebrows are evil. That
Right.
like that's
They
an
they
objective fact.
themselves. Like they could
Yeah,
just detach from his face and still be evil as entities. They
absolutely,
would
just
do
on their
devilish
own.
acts.
Schemes and the like.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love this movie. It is kind of odd, very whimsical. Mrs. Brisby, she convinces the rats to help her. Also, Justin throws in a good word because he is like head over heels for
Yeah.
this sexy widow mouse. He's like, dang, all right, I gotta get a good like. By the way, your husband and I were like best friends, and we'd like talked all the time, and he probably said really nice things about me, right?
And she's
Like,
like, who are you?
um,
I've never
but
heard of
he's
you
also just a
before, and once I leave today, I won't remember you. And he's like,
yeah. Um, he loves her. He's also just a very good person on his own. Um, he helps convince everybody like we need to move her house because Jonathan owes us a great debt, or we owe Jonathan a great debt for the
Mhm.
way that he helped us escape the lab. And he like she's also just a mother in need. Like, why would we have this intelligence and these resources if we don't use them to help other people?
Mhm.
And they're moving the
And
house,
that's an
and
interesting
then
question that more people could ask. Interesting.
probably doesn't mean anything though.
Yeah, it's just a movie.
That is
Movies never
only
have
a
themes that
movie.
apply to real life. That would be crazy.
No. And if they did, it would be a bad metaphor.
Hmm.
Anyway, they're moving the house. Evil Rat kills Nicodemus because he's evil. Evil Rat is evil, not Nicodemus. Nicodemus is a very friendly old man, who again has
Hmm.
magic, doesn't
He's
use
also
it
a
in this
wizard. Yeah.
situation.
It's like, just say
He is a
no,
wizard. Yep. Yep.
lest we forget.
Yeah. Rat wizard. um, and then the house starts to sink into the mud because it's raining super hard. And then Mrs. Brisby uses a magical amulet to just lift it out of the mud and water with her heart.
Yeah, why not?
And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, why not? Why shouldn't she?
Riddle me this. Why not?
Yeah. And then Justin stabs that guy super hard and then he dies.
Yeah.
And
good for
good
him.
and morally correct.
Mhm.
And good for him. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I do think we've gotten away from the very fun and good thing of killing the villain at the end of a children's movie. I just think we
Uh-huh.
should start doing that again.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like a death that could be prevented were it not for their own actions. Like one of my favorites is
Mhm.
when Clayton dies at the end of Tarzan. Something that could have been prevented. Tarzan tried to stop him, he tried to save him, and it was Clayton's own fault for shooting the vines around him, killing himself
Yeah.
unintentionally. Or like
Poetic
Rasputin, the
cinema.
end of like literally poetic justice. To like, it's Char movie,
This is so
Like
movie.
Don Bluth loves this too because he did it at the end of Anastasia, where Rasputin is like, sold his soul to the forces of evil, and then they come to collect.
Mm-hmm.
They're like Dr. Facilier and Princess and the Frog, like all these things where it's not even just like straight up murder. It's just this is what happens when you're a super, super evil person.
Mm-hmm. What can we say? And it's
Sometimes you
not
get
because of
stabbed,
stealing.
sometimes no.
It's
It's
because of
because of
betrayal and
murder,
deceit. Yeah, and in fact
betrayal,
murder.
and treachery also,
Yes.
and being crusty. You
Mm-hmm.
could also say because that's he's
It's
a
karma for
crusty
being
mouse.
crusty.
Yeah, you just look at him like Justin, Mr. Ages, like Mrs. Brisby. They all feel like they'd be soft to touch.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, you just know he'd be
Like,
the worst combination of oily and crunchy.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
like that. He
Yeah.
never left being a sewer rat.
Mm-mm. You can take the rat out of the sewer. Need I say more?
No, no, we could end it there. Probably it's pretty good. Yeah, I don't like. I didn't. I don't even know what else to say about this movie. I just like it. It raised me
Yeah.
so seriously.
So there we go.
It's good. It's like kind of odd. It doesn't make sense if you think about it too hard because it doesn't need to. Movies don't also always have to make so much sense over
Yeah,
everything
it's
all the
like
time.
fine to just
Like
enjoy the story, you know? Like
exactly,
it's okay.
it's got that element of yes and to it. Like, what if this mouse lady is like trying to rescue her kid, and someone else is like, yes, and what if she has to go to like a bunch of mice that are like super smart, and someone else says yes, and what if Rat Wizard, and everyone's like, yeah, oh, this
No,
rips
we got it. Now we
severely,
got it. That was the last piece of the puzzle.
and they
Yeah.
were right, and they
Mm-hmm.
were right.
Yeah, it rocks. So,
It does. Just be willing to be a little bit more silly and be a little bit more um what's the word that I'm looking for? Like the word that my brain is giving me is consequential, but conventional. That's it. Be a little bit more unconventional or
mm-hmm.
a little less conventional. However you'd like to say that. Just
Yeah,
like
you get to choose.
be less normal, be more weird, have more rat wizards and things. I think that should be
Exactly.
our
Like
takeaway.
how many more times are we gonna have to say it?
At least once more.
Yeah.
Miss one.
And the thing is about
Mhm.
being a little whimsical or whatever, that it also has to be intentional. Because you watch a lot of movies that are just bad,
Yeah.
like they're badly written and they don't make sense, and you're like, what's going on? And I think it's because there's too much yes and without a balance of like, this is the heart of the story, right?
True.
Like
Good
this
point.
works. It's like there's a rat wizard in this. Like I don't know if we've stressed that enough, but it works because there's the heart of the story of like this is a mother who would do anything for her children.
Yeah. And shows that.
And so then the rest of the story builds around that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Hmm.
Well, well,
Yeah.
I better let you go.
Well, yeah. No, no, yeah, I gotta get to it anyway. Yeah,
Yeah, don't let me
thanks for
keep
letting
you.
me step. Yeah, stay out of the way for kids for me. You know that thing. Okay, bye. I'll see you on Saturday.
Bye. See you on Saturday. I still had my Google search open of like where the HOA came from. And I've looked at a couple sites, but this is Kiara, of course, which is awesome. Is it Cora? Because I think that's wrong. I like to say Kiara, because it isn't. It's a dumb word either way. Anyway, this post is like defending the HOA. Like, can you imagine having neighbors who keep bees? And like, that rocks, actually. Like, I wouldn't complain, but whatever. But then there's also someone else shared a story of like their HOA told them that their rescue dog was too tall. You have to get rid of your dog. He's too tall. He's way too big. And they're like, he's a dog. Like, what? I can't make him smaller. What do you mean? So it's a whiplash here of like people are like, well, actually the HOA is really important because what if your neighbor didn't mow their lawn? And it's like, who cares? But then it's also like, HOAs try to shrink ray my dog. My rescue dog grew taller after finally receiving the proper nutrition. And the homeowners association told me that dog is too tall. Shut up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. Right now.
And I can hear you now.
Wow. Life is beautiful.
Isn't it?
I wasn't saying anything important. I was just asking if you could hear this bird. But you couldn't if you couldn't hear me, so answers my question. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Life is beautiful.
I
These
know.
are magnets. I'm figuring out the difference between the iPhone camera and the iPhone desk view camera, which is upside down.
Oh.
Phone
Interesting.
camera, like, this is what I'm seeing. Anyway, I was gonna show you, I wanted to try the phone continuity camera because there was like this fat bee. And I wanted to show you. But then I got too distracted by figuring out what the desk camera version is, and so now
And it flew away.
the bee flew away. It was not like the fattest bee I've ever seen, but it was like pretty big and beautiful.
That is really good. It doesn't even have to be the fattest bee you've ever seen for it to be a good fat bee.
Exactly. There are all kinds of beautiful bees in the world.
That's true.
And
I don't even remember where I can attest to that.